This is the GPL podcast, part of the Pull Tab Sports family.
Oh boy. Jupe making mistakes. I love it.
But I think the Gophers have, skater-wise, 1-19, the best roster in the country.
It was 75-cent bag, make like bottles at Thursday, Friday night at Grandma's Restaurant Saloon, 18 party, 21 drink, come on down.
Now, here's Jupiter and Vigo. Good evening and welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 288, the season 15 premiere. Good evening, Mr. Eric Vigo. How's it going, Vigs?
Good evening. It is going great. I am glad it's hockey season. I'm just waiting for that cooler weather to come. Just waiting. My favorite weather of the year is fall. So
I would agree with you. And it's going to be like 89 on Friday when we head down to Mariucci.
So it's hockey season. It will feel like hockey season very soon.
It will be next week. It will be next week. Well, so much has gone on. We had our summer episode, kind of did a little recap, but now we're ready to get into the season. And what did we hear just a couple weeks ago, Vigs? Frank Mazzocco is coming back to TV this weekend.
I know it's really going to sound like hockey season when you hear those dulcet tones on your TV and you haven't muted the TV and you're playing the radio. You know, it's going to be like old time hockey again.
It will be like, I don't think he's been on 2010 Final Five, maybe. I'm not really sure. Well, you know, I know what you can. Let's ask him. Frank Mazzocco joining the show. Surprise guest tonight, Frank. Welcome back to television, sir.
Do I have to wear makeup?
Yes, you do. Get out your old makeup.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you have to buy new stuff, maybe. It's probably a little dried out now.
Maybe expired.
I threw it out 15 years ago in case you were to help you with your math.
What is the final five?
2010.
Final five. I remember you always saying the last bunch of games you ever called were North Dakota games.
He said happily.
Well, I can laugh at it now, but I knew you were calling a bunch of North Dakota games.
Well, it was 3 Gopher games up there, and they got shellacked. And then why did North Dakota wind up playing a play-in game here? Because that would have been 3 more.
I don't know what I had for breakfast. You expect me to remember what happened in 2010 Final Five? I certainly don't remember. I know. I was just trying to remember. So the deal is, Jim Rich is heading to London to cover the Vikings. They needed someone to fill in, and they gave you a call.
You got to reach the bottom of the barrel sooner or later.
Oh, come on.
I have no voice right now, so I don't know what's going to happen. No, honestly, I answered in about 30 seconds. I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." It's just going to be fun, provided I get some voice back here and can talk. But I might fall on my face. I might. If I really get desperate, all I have to do is say, "Mick, what do you think about that?" And he'll fill for whatever I need.
It's true. He will. He'll fill in nicely for you. He can keep going. I don't know if he'll go off on tangents quite like the Wooger used to, but he could definitely fill time for you.
Right. I don't think Pat goes off on tangents, but he does ramble.
That's what we love about Pat. That's why he's one of our best guests. When he comes on, we could just send him a topic and he's going to go and entertain everyone.
I talked to him today. We've already set up a couple of questions back and forth. And
Okay. One
You'll
thing
talk to
you
him
did,
again before Friday.
one thing I saw you put out today that I shared is that you're doing a photo everyday challenge to raise awareness for cancer, aren't you? Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Thank you for mentioning it. It was another one of those things that I'm rarely on Facebook, and this opportunity just popped up. Don't ask me where or how. I was on my tablet and there it was, and I thought I could do that. So it's to raise money. Right now I don't know how many photographers are involved. I know after I signed up, they set my donation goal, which kind of surprised me. $250 sounds like an awful lot for a guy who's, just threw his feet in the water this morning, but it's going to be a photo a day. And, the rules are that you take the picture on the day.
Okay.
They're going to be flexible, they want to raise money, right?
Yeah.
But that will be my goal. And I've already got a couple of topics set up for the next week or so. And so I'm looking forward to it very much. I have a new lens for my camera, so that's going to be some pictures. And, ooh, yeah.
Yeah. I got a new lens this summer too, a 100 to 500 RF lens for my camera. So I was pretty excited. I threw a QR code up on the page. If you guys are watching live, if you scan that QR code, it'll bring you right to Frank Mazzocco's, everyday photo challenge fundraiser for cancer. So be sure to check that out. Frank, I can't tell you how excited I am to have you back on TV. Obviously, how many people love you on TV for so long, and it ended so quickly. I think this is going to be a really cool thing to have you come back to call this series.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I appreciate it. I really do. Honest to God, I haven't used my voice all summer. Haven't used it since maybe a year and a half. So I got some vocal exercises to do here, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And one of the things I like about it is Michigan Tech is in town. Now, it's just going to be a little bit of old school flavor to it. It'll be fun.
Well, we also have to thank you because, we started this podcast 15 years ago, and who was our first guest in episode number 2 was you. You came on with us. You helped us out. This is your 11th appearance on the show. Yeah, 11th appearance. You were last on our 200th special episode back in November of 2021. So it's been a little while since you've been on. But I couldn't think of a better reason to surprise the people watching live and the people who are going to watch this or listen to this later to be able to hear from you. Because, like I said, you are a big boost to us and this podcast being guests over and over, at least once a year for many years. And it means a lot to me and means a lot to Vigo that you took your time out to help us, get our podcast out there. So we thank you as well.
Well, you're welcome for that. It was easy. It's a pleasure to do. You guys have just grown and grown. I'm looking forward to the rest of tonight's show because I need some notes on all the new players.
well, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. So it's going to be one of those things.
It was pretty funny at the opening practice, Frank. You noticed right away, this is a big Gopher team. You were telling me usually you used to count the guys that were over 6 feet tall, and now it's the reverse with this team where you can count the guys that are under 6 feet tall on this roster. So it's quite different than it used to be in the old days.
Yeah, the number is staggering. I use the benchmark 6'2" and taller. There's 10 of them. And we're not counting the guys who are 6'1". So it's and I don't know. You guys were at that practice a week ago. They're pretty mobile too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much so. It's really exciting. Yes, we know they've lost a lot of points this year, Vigs, that'll have to be filled in. But it all starts this weekend. And it's going to be exciting to start this weekend, to have Frank back on TV. For those of you outside of the viewing area, you can see it on BTN Plus. It'll be streamed. So you don't have to be on Fox 9 or Fox 9 Plus on Saturday. You can see it if you have the BTN Plus subscription. We gave away a 50% off code just, I think it was last week, Figs, where everyone got, it went from, $90 down to $45 for the season. So many people took advantage of that. And it's going to help me because I'll be in Grand Marais on Saturday. And how am I going to watch it? BTN Plus. So I'll get to see you, Frank, on Saturday night. And I'll probably go back and watch you on Friday as well.
Yeah, well, I don't have BTN Plus, so I'm just going to set my VCR.
Well, Frank, thanks for coming on. I know we got to rest your voice. I wanted to say thank you to all the great stuff you've done for us over the years and just kind of build some excitement of you coming back to television this weekend. Good luck. Well, we're just all excited and just thank you for coming on with us.
Hey, easy peasy. Thanks very much. And I appreciate the photo plug too.
Yes. Thanks, Frank.
Okay.
We'll see you later.
Have a good show, guys.
Good to see you on Friday, hopefully.
Deal. Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow too? Oh, my goodness.
Oh, geez.
2 times in a week.
I'm getting paid for 2 games. I'll be there tomorrow.
Way to go.
All right. Thanks, Frank.
Okay. See you guys.
All right, Vigs. Here we go. Oh, it was great to have Frank on and kind of surprise people with him coming on. That was real nice of him to do for us.
Yeah, it's going to be good to see him on the air again, especially, playing the Huskies. I think it's fitting to get Frank back on the play-by-play call for Fox. It'll be great.
Oh, it's going to be fun. Of course, thanks, Frank, for coming on. It was, here we go. Eric Brever, so awesome with Frank behind the mic this weekend. Talking about, here's Mote. Another season of the Chance of Glory. I'm here for it. Let's effing go. And we got Matthew here. I remember seeing Rumbach step on the ice this summer. I thought Renzel was tall, but wow.
Yeah, seeing him at the World Junior Summer Showcase, going from Mooney to Rumbach was quite the change. I don't look up at a lot of hockey players. Jacob's a big guy. And he moves pretty well, and I think Steve Miller is really honing in his game, and he's going to be an impact player right away.
Well, let's talk about the whole off season. A lot of guys are gone, Vigs.
Yeah, like over 60% of the scoring's gone from last
Yes.
year.
I saw the Gopher Puck Stats putting out 200 plus points lost. Oh.
Yeah, it's a lot. You look at the leading returning scorers: Brody Lamb, Brody Ziemer, and then a lot of guys with like 4, 5, 6 goals. And so I think Minnesota is really going to have to be looking for new players this year and new roles. And it's going to be exciting, I think. LJ Mooney is obviously probably one of the most dynamic talents for Minnesota up front. But otherwise, you're seeing a lot of size, a lot of speed, and a lot of compete. So I think this is going to be a little bit different Gopher team than people are used to. And I'm interested to see it in game action because I've probably been to 5 or 6 practices so far leading up to the season. And this looks like a hard, direct team. They play pretty heavy in practice. And I'm sure once you put refs on the ice and some fans in the building, they'll play even harder.
I'm looking at some of your notes. You get some lines that you're going to that you've seen so far this year that you're going to share later. But what else happened in this off season? We'll talk about later. We've got a new Pairwise is gone. NPI is coming along. Boy, a lot of coaches left. Our guy Brad Sloshman was writing a lot about that today. About it's more coaches than we've seen in recent history.
Yeah, 11 new coaches in NCAA hockey this year. Quite the turnover. A lot of guys with lots of experience leaving college hockey. I think that the changes in college athletics the last couple of years have been a lot for coaches. Right now we've got roster limits that are new. We've got CHL players. that's new, and apparently now you can play some professional games and still come to college.
Oh,
which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
There's like a threshold of how much a player can earn in money that they would have gotten in room and board and all that stuff, that if it's even, they can come back, which is weird to me. So a lot of changes. So some of the coaches are turning over the reins to new blood, and that'll be interesting for college hockey. And I think it leads to more unknowns going into this year than maybe any other. The transfer portal was different, but those were pretty known commodities. Now you've got, almost 150 CHL players coming. I'm not sure how all of those guys are going to translate to college hockey. It's very similar to the USHL players coming, but you have players who, haven't had their eye on college, and now they're going to be taking classes and being student athletes. It's probably a little bit of a different experience, and probably it's going to be challenging for coaches to figure out, are these good fits? Is this good for our program? How long are those guys going to stay? How much do they buy into the routine of college? Because you only get the 2 games a week and, a lot of practice time.
I see Steve Larson. Who's the biggest surprise? Kurth leaving? After I heard he graduated, I guess it's less surprising. Probably spend the whole year in the AHL, but if he's graduated and he's done with school, it's not a terrible excuse. It really isn't.
I mean, I understand it from Kurth's perspective, life-wise, perhaps. I think he's going to be an AHL, ECHL guy. He's going to bounce between those. I think, it's a big difference, the pace and pressure of pro hockey. You talk to a lot of guys that go pro. There's not a lot of development being done with players who are pros. If you're not performing and you're not up to snuff, they don't sit you down and say, hey, we're going to give you a chance after chance after chance. We're going to replace you. So the players are kind of on their own. They've got to be ready, and they've got to hit the ground running. You remember Nate Condon was on our show way back, and he talked about how he had a bad 2 weeks. He had another bad week, and his chance in American pro hockey was kind of done.
Yeah.
And that can happen really quick to a player. And so if you don't have a lot of confidence in your game and you're going to a higher level, it's hard to find it there. And I think Kurth left some development on the table by going pro.
Probably did. He hung around a lot this summer. He was he was part of the crowd at the Gopher hockey or at the Gopher football game, wasn't he? He was part of that group that celebrated Gopher hockey.
Maybe. I think he's probably the surprise. Chesley's probably another one. He maybe is more of a pro kind of player going on, but I don't think he's ready. And I remember hearing Bob Mazzocco talking on PA at the state fair. He basically said, I expected this team to be loaded, and I had my non-conference schedule ready for a loaded team. Well, I don't know if Oliver Moore was necessarily ready to go pro either. He's another player who I think he's going to be a pro. Like, he has definitely got the mindset to be a pro. He's got the skills to be a pro, but I think he's leaving development on the table by going now. And he's one of those players. He's going to be going back and forth a little bit as he refines his game to play at the pro level. So, having all those departures probably hurt. Snuggerud, he's right into the top 6 for the Blues. He's right on the power play.
Yeah.
Sam Renzel, probably had some development left at the college level, but the Blackhawks are going to play him a ton, and he's going to get a great opportunity there. So hard to fault those two.
And even more. I mean, they might try to play him. They've been playing him a lot in the preseason. So he's probably going to get sent down, but I think he's going to have more of a chance than some of the others that left.
I think he's got the pro discipline, the pro demeanor, the attitude to handle the hard coaching and doing the work to be a pro. Whereas some of these other players, I think it's going to be a little bit rougher at times.
All right. I see what you mean. Well, before we get to your preseason top 20, which I know you struggled with because everyone struggles this year, we need to talk about one of our sponsors, Vigs, and we're going to talk about Gateway Fiber. Taking over on the north side. Fiber is great. We rely on it here. Tell us about Gateway Fiber.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be that guy on the video call or on the podcast that's got the bad internet. You want fiber. And in Minnesota, we're the state of hockey, and a bad internet connection is like a bad line change. It slows everything down, causes chaos. You might even lose the game. So check out Gateway Fiber. They're coming all over here in the North Metro, and they're not just another provider. They're on your team. Visit gatewayfiber.com or call 1-800-201-4339 to see if Gateway Fiber is available in your area, because life is too short for bad internet.
It definitely is, Viggs. It definitely is. All right. Preseason top 20, always tough. You've got some obvious teams here and there. I know you had on your official, a lot of your polls had, what the USCHO decided. I just kind of tweaked a little bit, put what the team was rated last on your last poll, if they were rated at all. Here it is. Western Michigan obviously deserves a top spot. They're the defending champs. They've got quite a bit coming back. Things are looking good for them.
Yeah, I do kind of, shade the defending championship a little bit when I do like an opening top 20. They're the returning champ. They get to defend it. So I don't know if Western Michigan is my pick to win the Frozen Four in Vegas at the end of the year. But I think right now they're a very deserving team. Furschweiler did a great job with that program last year. Like he said, with zero NIL dollars. This year he's gone into the portal and he's added a couple extra players to fill some holes with guys who went pro. They've got great goaltending coming back. They've got their NCAA tournament MVP back. They've got a lot of good pieces, and the media and coaches picked Western Michigan to win the NCHC, which I think is going to be an improved conference this year. So kudos to them. They're number one.
And really your top, four, maybe not, Providence at 5, but your top 4 is pretty close to, what they did last season. I mean, Boston University, Michigan State's coming back strong. Denver's always strong. Providence kind of jumped up a little bit there, but that's looking pretty consistent based off of the end of last year.
Yeah, I think if you look in this tier, like 1 through 10, I think all those teams have pretty solid chances to make the NCAA tournament this year and can compete to win it. I think they've all got really good pieces in place. They've added talented freshmen. They've got good goaltending. They've got experienced coaches leading their teams. I think, anyone in that top 10 has a chance to win it this year.
And then we've got Penn State just following up there. Maine, North Dakota, Boston College will be in town next week. Penn State, they snuck into that Frozen Four last year. They played super well at the end of the year, and they just added Mr. Superstar and Gavin McKenna.
Yeah, I've got to give a lot of credit to Guy Godowski. I think he's improved his coaching acumen the last couple of years. They're not just a chaos hockey team anymore. I'm seeing more structure in that team, and I'm seeing them use their skill a little bit more effectively and not give away the puck so much. I think that was one of the things that hampered them probably like 4 or 5 years ago. They just didn't have enough possession to really dominate, win a lot of games. They were always dangerous, but I think that's a different kind of team than the one that Guy Godowski is putting on the ice now. They are a lot more consistent, and they'll go through this early schedule where they play a less than challenging schedule. And I think Gavin McKenna is going to be putting up a lot of points. I was trying to figure out how many points am I expecting from Gavin McKenna this year. And I think with his schedule, 60 is probably your over under. He could easily hit 70, 75 points this year. But I think 60 is probably a good measure to see, how well is he actually playing for the Nittany Lions.
And is he 18 yet?
Yeah, because he
wasn't eligible for the draft. So
No.
he must be turning 18, sometime after that cutoff. So
yeah, but he's a young player, just like Verhoff at North Dakota. They're the top 2 draft eligible players in college hockey this year. So It's going to be interesting to see how they adjust. The one thing about McKenna is he's not a big player. You know, he's probably like that 5'11", 6 feet, but I think he's in that 160s for weight. And that's a little different than like the Fantilli or the Celebrini, who are just heavy, solid lower body players that could handle the grind of college hockey. Because as you talk to college coaches about, oh, McKenna's coming to college, how's that going to be to coach against? Maybe a little nervous. They're like, we've had talents like that play college hockey before. There's going to be 24, 25-year-old bodies that know how to play hockey and aren't going to make easy giveaways, and they're going to protect the good ice and force some of the bad ice. So it's going to be a big challenge for him to adjust.
How is Arizona State going to play them? I think it's this weekend. Arizona has been an older team. They're getting better. They could play a little rough at times. Could this be something where they kind of tell McKenna, hey, calm down?
Welcome to college hockey.
Yeah,
We're
kind of.
6 years older than you. I definitely could see that out of Greg Powers' team. You know, they've been a little over the edge in the past. I think it's going to be must-watch hockey this weekend to see how it goes. They definitely play with an edge, and that's a big series to watch.
The rumor is it's going to be an NHL network, so they're going to be following McKenna around all year. We got the doubleheader next week with BTN showing, you know, Clarkson at Penn State, and then obviously BC against Minnesota here next Thursday evening. We're going to see a lot of Penn State, aren't we?
I think we're going to see a lot of Chris Peters and Scott Wheeler as well, top prospect writers for the Athletic and Flow Hockey. You know, and they were here for the World Junior Summer Showcase. They were like, hey, I think we're going to be here a couple times this year to see McKenna and other CHL draft prospects. And then the World Junior, you know, where's a good place to get a beer here, get some sushi, maybe a burger? You know, people were interested in some tour guides.
They were
coming this town.
So we've got Minnesota at 10 there. We'll talk about them plenty. The rest of your list here, a lot of non-rated teams. Obviously, it's a crapshoot. It really, I kind of wonder why we even do preseason hockey, because I would almost like to see at least 3-4 weeks, a month till we do a first poll. But
yeah, it is kind of first guess. You know, one of the things I look at is I expect 5 or 6 teams from Hockey East to make the tournament. So I've got 5 or 6, sometimes 7 Hockey East teams in my top 20.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll see 5 or 4 NCHC teams make the tournament. I think 5 this year. So you got to figure those teams and how they're going to fit in the top 20. Big Ten, they also are kind of a 4 or 5 team, probably close, probably 4. I think they could get 4 in this year into the tournament. Right. I think Michigan's talented enough, as roller coaster as they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've got talent to get in. And then, you know, you look at CCHA, ECAC, and Atlantic. 4 teams have a chance to be in the top 20 out of that group, and 3 make the tournament. I mean, that's kind of the way things are headed. So as I put together my top 20, Sacred Heart's my top Atlantic team. You know, I've got St. Thomas and Minnesota State there on the fringe of the top 20. I think that's just kind of where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, Quinnipiac's my ECAC team, and, you know, we'll see how it goes.
It will be.
I also think, you know, looking at the DraftKings odds on national title, you know, they definitely have 4 favorites: Penn State, Michigan State, BU, Michigan. And then the next ring is BC, Minnesota, Denver, North Dakota, and then Western. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing to look at. You know, what are the odds? You know, since the Frozen Four is going to be in Vegas, you know, I think looking at the odds is going to be interesting this year.
That will be interesting. Wow, oh boy. All right, let's talk about the newcomers here. Kind of go through each player, freshman, transfer, whatever we got going. Let's start with Tate Pritchard. Let's hear how he says his name exactly. Got these all from the U, so I'm definitely going to use them.
Tate Pritchard, Savage, Minnesota.
Tate Pritchard, Savage, Minnesota. He had committed elsewhere, Viggs. Changed his mind.
It's curious. You know, I mean, it's hard to understand why someone would want to go to Minnesota versus Minnesota State. You know, and they're totally same experience, right, Jupe? Totally the same. Maybe not. I think a lot of Minnesota State fans were a little sore about losing some of their players. I know their coaching staff definitely was sore about it. Tate got an opportunity to play at Minnesota, I think, because of all those departures that we talked about. Some of them were unexpected. So there's a spot that opened up. Tate took it. And, he's a big forward, 6'2", almost 200 pounds. I think he'll be playing in the top 9 here for Minnesota and, a strong forward player for him.
Could Tanner Ludke have been part of that? He played with them in high school.
Yeah, I think definitely those friendships and relationships come and play here.
Okay, we're just going right by number here. Let's go with Jacob Rombach. We met this young man at the showcase this summer, along with his gigantic dad as well. 6'6", Vigs. He's big.
Yeah, I think a little bit of a late developing defenseman, played a lot of other sports growing up, kind of late focusing hockey a little bit, made the decision to play those 2 years in the USHL. I think really rounded him out. Nashville was excited about him, took him in the second round, looked very big and solid at the World Junior Summer Showcase. I think he's going to play quite a bit this year. He provides a strong presence. As long as he plays inside the dots and stays in the good ice, he's going to have a productive season for Minnesota. Not a lot of offense, but very physical.
And we know who's watching. Vigo looked taller in the interview. You did not look taller, Vigs.
I look taller than I am because of the camera angle, but I'm nowhere near 6'6".
All right, let's move. Oh, I forgot to announce him here. I've got the audio. Let's hear how he says his name.
Jacob Rombach, Blaine, Minnesota.
There we go. Jacob Rombach, Blaine, Minnesota. Next is going to
Spring
be
Lake Park.
Tanner Ludke, Lakeville, Minnesota.
Tanner Ludke, Lakeville, Minnesota. There he is, Vigs. A transfer in from Omaha.
Yeah, Utah draft pick. Went to Omaha. His brother was there, had a upper body injury that kind of hampered his year last season. But he's going to play center for the Gophers. And you look at the Gopher roster, they really needed one more center. And so bringing in a junior who can fill that role, really important for the Gophers this year with all those departures. I think he's going to play a top 6 type role, get on the power play a little bit. Very important player for the Gophers this year.
Yes, definitely important.
LJ Mooney, West Mifflin, PA.
LJ, Little John Mooney.
This guy is going to be a fun one to watch, people. Get used to the name. You're going to be hearing it a lot. Super dynamic with the puck on his stick. Great vision. Great jump. I've noticed one thing, especially about him in the practices I've seen. He's not afraid to turn the corner and bring the puck to the crease. Which for a guy of his stature is a great quality. You want him going to those areas of the ice and getting the puck in dangerous spots. Really good hand-eye coordination. I think he reminds some people of Phil Kessel in how he can handle the puck with his head up and make plays. I expect him on the first power play. And if you're looking for someone to fill some of that 65% of scoring that left, LJ is going to be a big part of that.
He definitely will be.
Finn McLaughlin, Canmore, Alberta.
He says he's Canadian, though I know he's American too, but he's claiming Canada, Vigs.
He wants to add a little fire to the locker room, I think.
Yeah.
Finn was originally committed to Denver. Denver is one of those schools that kind of retains some players. They're going over the roster limit of 26 this year. So they were telling Finn to go back to junior. Finn wanted to come play college hockey. I think Minnesota, those early departures, wanted to grab one more player that they thought could contribute on their blue line. I think one of the things about local recruiting the last couple of years, there haven't been enough defensemen really for Minnesota to grab. You look at Leo Gruba. He flipped from St. Cloud to Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Now they get Finn to flip from Denver to Minnesota. They're just kind of filling that gap in the recruiting pipeline because locally there haven't been enough defensemen for Minnesota lately. Finn is getting some experience with the top power play groups so far in preseason camp. Looks pretty good with the puck on a stick, making good decisions, good size as well. So it would be interesting to see how he fits in this year. He had a great finish with Muskegon in the USHL this last year.
All right. We need to listen to this name properly so everyone knows how to pronounce Luca's last name.
Luca DePasquo, Livonia, Michigan.
DePasquo. Remember that,
DePasquo.
Luca DePasquo, Livonia, Michigan.
All right.
There we go. He looks like he was going to take back seat again over there in Michigan State. So he's like, I'm going to find a place to go.
Yeah, and the coach at Michigan State, Adam Nightingale, spoke very highly of Luca, encouraged him to find another good fit. Luca is an aerospace engineering major.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons, yes.
I heard one of the keys in his recruiting is he wanted to go to school where he could study this. Some other programs were not very interested in helping him with his academic pursuits. Minnesota was very attracted to Luca and made it happen so he could keep that degree going here in Minneapolis. And he's going to be battling for the net. When you have a roster like Minnesota, you want to make sure you have options in goal. And I think Nathan Airy last year showed the technique and the ability to be goalie. But I think sometimes battling through traffic in the crease and just the mental side of playing at a program like Minnesota were issues at times. I know Nathan Airy has worked on that in the offseason, and he's got a different mindset coming into this year. He's been pretty clear with the coaches. He knew what he had to work on this year. But Luca's being brought in to compete for that spot. And as Bob often says, I don't pick number ones. I pick starters for the night, and we go from there. And so I think both goalies will have a chance to prove themselves. Luca's a little bit smaller than Nathan, but he's an aggressive goalie, also a really good puck handler. So that's something that showed out with him so far in preseason.
All right.
Javon Moore, Carver, Minnesota.
I had no idea he was from Carver. He played at Minnetonka. I had no idea he was my neighbor just up the road.
Yeah, you probably saw him on the outdoor rinks in the neighborhood, right?
Maybe.
Big player. If he was on the outdoor rinks, you definitely would have noticed him. He's playing on a line right now with Brody Lamb and Jimmy Clark. And they might look like the most dynamic line Mazzocco's put together so far. He's making direct plays, hard plays to the net, competing for pucks in the corner. I think that extra year post NDTP really helped him. He was in Sioux Falls, played a lot, big minutes, something he didn't get with the program. I think he's ready to make a splash this year. And I think it just shows, for some of those guys who go to the program and they're not playing big roles there, getting this extra year before coming to college is massive for your development.
I'm excited to see him.
Teddy Townsend, Eden Prairie, Minnesota.
Yeah, so Teddy's a player from Eden Prairie. He's got connections to the U with his family. And, I'm not sure what to expect with Teddy this year. I know he had a nice finish to the USHL season last year. He's probably, one of those players who's going to develop a little bit while he's at Minnesota, probably starting in a lower line role, lower ice time role, but he's flashing some skill here and there. I know he's missed some practice here coming up, so we might not see him right away, but a player to watch down the line.
All right.
Mason Moe, Eden Prairie, Minnesota.
Yeah, Mason was kind of a surprise player for me at the World Junior Summer Showcase. I saw him play a little bit in the USHL, and he had some success there in the second half of the season. Comes to Minnesota as, a player also in one of those lower line roles right away. But I think that the coaching staff likes a lot of the tools here. He's a player who's grown quite a bit the last few seasons. So I think he was a little bit smaller player, and he's matured now. he's starting to look more physical. I know in the summer showcase, he was getting some penalty kill opportunities, which he said he hadn't played much before in the USHL, but he's like, I'll do whatever. A real comfortable guy to talk to. I think a player to watch down the line.
All right. Well, thanks for the summary there, Viggs. It's kind of nice to hear about all those guys. And thanks to Scott Slarks. I had all the audio from the players announcing except for Mooney and McLaughlin. So he was nice enough to send those over to me this afternoon. If you go to GPL, it's all on their profiles, every player. So if you want to hear how they pronounce their name, head on over. It's also on the used site as well. Viggs, what is NPI and why is it replacing Pairwise?
I'm a little confused about MPI so far. I've read Jimmy Connolly's article on USCHO.com. I think that's the best place to get a summary of the details. I think one of the ideas of this adjustment, they've used it in D3 for picking their tournament before. It's supposed to be a little more mathematical heavy to reward teams for playing tougher schedules and winning games against better teams, and maybe not take into account the bad losses. We've often talked about, if you lose to Alaska Fairbanks at the winter break, it's going to kill your pairwise ranking. I think this one kind of diminishes some of that impact, and it's looking more about how you play against the tough teams on your schedule. And if you can beat the tough teams on your schedule, it's supposed to reward you more. I saw Brad Schlossman did a comparison of, what does the pairwise do and what does the MPI do? It hasn't done a lot in terms of who makes the tournament and who doesn't. So I think as the season goes on and we see the results, we'll get a pretty good idea of if there are going to be any impacts. But the idea is that it's a little bit more math heavy to look at strength of schedule and rewarding big wins and playing tough teams.
Will it be trickier? Will it be something we don't quite know? Or is it something we can, is it something definitely like USCHO and CHN and all the sites are going to have their calculations automatically calculate this? Or is it going to be a little more difficult for them to really figure out?
It should all be pretty straightforward. I think all the calculations are there, like publicly there for you to see. I definitely recommend going to USCHO and looking at the article where it's talking about the strength for home wins, away wins. When you're looking at the postseason tournament, there isn't like a weight for home or road, because it used to be really bad if you lost at home, in the postseason. So it
like Minnesota,
that. Yeah, like Minnesota did that one time
last year.
So, yeah, so it's supposed to neutralize some of that stuff. So we'll see.
It will be interesting because I remember it was years ago. Our guy Tim Bruley over at USCHO figured out what the pairwise was and how it all worked, and he was kind of the first guy who figured out what the NCAA was doing, and it was fun. I ran into him at the showcase as well this summer. It was fun to see Tim. We'll see him again. Maybe we should get Tim on again sometime. We had him on as a guest years ago. He's kind of a quiet leader at a USCHO.com.
I think Tim would be a perfect guest once we get half a season of MPI data and we can start kind of looking at, where things stand. Because I've found that once you get past Christmas, MPI, pairwise, those numbers started to matter. And it was very hard if you were outside the top 20 to have a chance at making the tournament. There's only been like 2 or 3 teams in the last 25 years that have been able to do that. But there is some shuffling on the bubble that becomes very interesting to watch at that point of the season.
That's why I still miss the last 16. I used to love that little piece in there that shows, that just gives a little bit more to the teams that are hot at the end of the year. I would also love to see what would the NPI have been, what was it, 2012 when UMD got Minnesota by 0.001 in pairwise. Would it have turned out that way? Would Duluth have not made it? Maybe Minnesota or someone else made it. It would be interesting to not just go back a couple of years. Let's go back many years and see how things would have changed. Would it have knocked out a national champion from the tournament? That's, I think, would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll get Tim on that.
I'm sure he'll have a spreadsheet that'll have all the things to do it with. So,
well, before we move on, Viggs, we need to talk about Cub Foods. They're back as a GPL sponsor. Oh, it's fall, Viggs. Cub was great in the fall.
Yeah, and I live right by the Quarry Cub, so I am there quite a bit. I had a bunch of birthday parties last week. I was making the walk down the hill, picking up a few things at Cub, coming back up, getting ready for the party, going, I need a few more things. And right now it's fall, so if you're looking for fresh picked apples, they've got all the apples you want. It's Minnesota. We love apples. They've got the variety. You want pumpkin spice? They got everything. I know the Cub Bakery in the Quarry, it's one of the best Cub bakeries in the metro. I'm sure they're all great, but this one's special. They have all kinds of special treats. So if you're baking, hosting, it's a game day, cozy night in, Cub's got the flavors that make fall feel like fall. And it will feel like fall in 2 weeks. Trust me. So swing by your local Cub, stock up on all your seasonal favorites, because nothing says fall in Minnesota like comfort food from Cub.
Nice. Thanks for sponsoring the GPL podcast, both Gateway and Cub Foods. All right, Viggs. Big Ten predictions. What are your thoughts? The coaches have their thoughts. It's hard to disagree with them. Basically, Michigan, Penn State, Minnesota, Michigan, and then the rest. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, did the coaches pick Michigan State first, or have they picked Penn State first? Because I think that's kind of the big thing, like nationally bettors, like there's some discrepancy between the two. And, I think when you're picking a preseason favorite, I probably give a slight edge to Michigan State over Penn State, just because I think Michigan State has a little bit more depth. When I look at Penn State, I am super interested to see how Mac Godowski plays for them. He was such an impact player for Army. I want to see how he plays a Big Ten schedule. You know what I mean? And for dad. That's an interesting dynamic. We saw Tony Lucia playing for the Don. Mario didn't want that. He went to a different school. So I think that'll be an interesting thing to watch. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Penn State this year and a lot of eyes on Penn State and the CHL players, there and Michigan State CHL players. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the season. But they're definitely the top two teams. I agree with Hoppy. I like Michigan State probably because of Augustine. He's kind of been a Team USA goalie. I know he's had some weakness to his game and some big showcase events, but he's got a lot of pedigree there. And, obviously we saw Penn State discard a goalie for their big Russian right now. But we'll see what happens. I think Minnesota is definitely the number 3 team in the Big Ten for me. I know there's a lot of turnover for the Gophers, but I just think the coaching staff has done a pretty good job with bringing in enough experienced players. And I think last couple of years, Minnesota's top point producing spots have almost been like preset. Coming into the year, you knew who was going to score points for them. And I think the players knew that too. And so they were maybe forcing pucks to certain guys rather than just playing creative free hockey. And I think this year's roster has a lot more openness to it that'll be interesting to watch.
There was a question on Twitter earlier today. I just put up on here from our guy Darren Bakken on X. Not sure you're taking questions, but which player does Vigo expect to make big strides this season, and who will surprise?
I think the player I'm expecting to see make the biggest strides are probably Jimmy Clark and Beckett Hendrickson.
Oh,
I think those were 2 players who last year had moments where they flashed what they had, but they just didn't really put things together consistently enough. So I think they're going to have big jumps in production. I saw somebody on GPL put together a list of players who had jumps of, I think, like 15 points or more from one season to the next. I think Hendrickson and Clark are two players who could make jumps like that this year.
I just see this post by Andrew Carlson. Dan Woog played for his dad, we know. And Dan Woog's going to be a guest on the podcast. Our last show in December before we go on break, before the juniors. We've got Dan Woog scheduled to be on the GPL podcast. I just saw that post, and I just had to mention that because it's going to be fun to have a Wooger on the show, Viggs.
That'd be awesome. I know this wasn't quite the question, but I also expect Brody Zemer to make a big jump. Now, I thought Brody Zemer was one of their more consistent players last year, and so I'm not going to be surprised. I just think the points are going to come a little bit easier for him this year as well.
One thing I thought was kind of tough and kind of hurt the team there. I'm not going to try to rip on him, but, Renzel had such a great start last year. He was big, but really I didn't notice him as much towards the end of the season in the playoffs and whatnot. It just, maybe he checked out. He was ready to go. I don't know, but it just seemed like there's a lot of stuff there that we missed. And then on the opposite end, you had Snuggerud, who hadn't performed in the playoffs, performed definitely on that overtime loss to UMass. So what can we expect?
I definitely think Renzel got scouted by teams from the first half.
Okay.
And they started taking away the things that he was doing to score points. I think he was driving down from the blue line a lot in the first half and joining the rush. And I think people were pretty aware of those things, and they were just taking away the good ice. And they were forcing him in the corner. They were taking away shooting lanes from him. And he just didn't have an answer for that to create something else. That's one of the big things in college hockey is if your power play gets going and you're reliant on getting the puck to Jimmy Snuggerud on the power play sometimes, you've got to have, a B game that you can go to that's going to be successful. And I think every player needs to figure that out. And that's one of the great things about college hockey.
Right. Hoppy in the soda pod, Homer disappearing into bushes. That's when Sale gets brought into discussion. I remember you mentioning that. It just seems like Renzel just wasn't quite there at the end of the season when they could have used him. So that's kind of why I brought it up.
Well, and I think the big thing with Renzel was his defensive presence. Plays around the net were struggles for him at times last year. And I think it was something they worked on throughout the year, and it just didn't go away. And so I think he made the game a little bit more complicated for himself than he needed to. And, now he gets to do it at the pro level and make a lot of money doing it.
Vegas odds of how many games the referees make it about them this year. It's hard to comment because we get to meet these guys, Vigs. And you know what? They're college hockey fans. They're big college hockey fans. They love the sport.
They want to get the calls right. They do. Like they want to get it right. I think the biggest thing about this year's team is I hope that they learned that even though the refs make a call, you do not let that call have to define the game.
Yes.
And you have to play through it. At one of the coaching clinic videos I was watching, there was a coach who talked about encouraging a player sometimes in practice. Hey, I want you to start committing penalties. I want you tripping guys. I want you holding guys because I want to see player X have to fight through something that doesn't get called. I want to see that player throw his hands up and look at the coach and go, he's holding me. And I want to see the coach go, play through it, overcome it. You're not going to get every call. Refs are going to mess up. You still have to finish the play. And I look back to the regional, the refs blew some calls. I think they look back at it, they go, yep, that's not right. But the player on the ice still has an opportunity to make up for it and prevent it from losing them the game.
It's hard to disagree with that. Hard to disagree.
Control what you can control.
Yes. They were very upset after the game. Obviously, we saw how upset the coaches and players were. But obviously, time gives you a little perspective. And even we saw, maybe Snuggerud could have done a little better on the back check on that overtime goal. Right?
He did have a great game, though. Snuggerud had a great game.
And that's just it. It's hard to rip on him because he showed up.
Yeah.
But we need to get into this weekend. Michigan Tech coming back to town, Viggs, for the first time in decades. You kind of mentioned it with Frank earlier. He's excited, an old WCHA rival, and obviously possibly the biggest rival in the middle 70s, when they met for 3 national titles in a row, Minnesota taking 2 out of 3. They're making the return trip next year. That's going to make a lot of people around GPLN happy. They love to go to Houghton, but tell me about Michigan Tech.
Big roster. I think they have 33 players on their roster.
Oh, really?
I think they have 6 or 7 CHL players coming into the mix.
Really?
New coach Bill McCalt famously has had some run-ins with a previous assistant coach at Minnesota. Very colorful guy, a lot of energy, and he's got a lot of question marks at Michigan Tech. So he's brought in a lot of players, a lot of freshmen, a couple transfers. So he's got a lot of question marks. He's got a couple returning players that, the Huskies have relied on. But I think there's going to be a feeling out process to figure out who fits in their lineup. And I was just, wondering, how do you run a college practice with that many players? But there's going to be competition for playing time there, roster spots, all kinds of things. So it'll be interesting to see what Michigan Tech puts on the ice this weekend. I'm sure they're going to play McCult style, which is up-tempo, high pace, a lot of aggressiveness. It'll be interesting.
Like he was when he played for Michigan.
Yep. He's a high energy player. He wants to do offense and be aggressive. Odin Bartoskevich is in net as one of the options for the Huskies, transferring from Lindenwood, where he is at with McCult, to Michigan Tech. So, I think it'd be fun for him to get a game this weekend. We'll see what happens.
He seemed really popular with some of the guys we talked about with a couple weeks ago. They seemed excited to be able to see him and just say hello and just kind of reconnect, because he was part of the team.
Yeah, I think there are no hard feelings there.
No.
He just needed a place to play, and, it didn't work out for him at Minnesota at the time. And, I think all the players are happy to see him getting that chance at Lindenwood and now Michigan Tech.
So Minnesota, how have you seen the Lions kind of recently? How do you think they'll kind of match up against Tech?
Yeah, like I said earlier, Brody Zam, Jimmy Clark, Javon Moore looked like one of the most dynamic lines for the Gophers right now. I think there's just a lot of physicality there. I think there's hardworking possession players there. Brody Lamb is probably the pick to pop this year for the Gophers. I think, he could go up another 15 points this year if things go well for him. He could touch 50 points. He's going to get opportunities on the first power play. If he's playing on this line, I think he's going to get lots of chances. The second line I'm seeing is Brody Zemer, Tanner Ludke, and LJ Mooney. That's a little bit smaller line, but I think you see a lot of compete and speed with all those guys. Ludke was brought in to be a playmaking big center for the Gophers. If he's out there with those two players, that's some talent. And, I think Brody Zemer is a good leader for Minnesota and a good compete guy. And it'll be interesting to see how they fit on the ice together and who starts putting in goals for that group.
Well, I think both Ludke and Zemer needs to keep their head on a swivel, because Mooney is just as much of a playmaker. We saw it in the showcase. Some of the best players in the world didn't see some of his passes coming, especially on the power play. Wow, he was good on the power play.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun line to watch. I'm expecting big things out of Brody Zemer this year, and with those two, that's a lot of talent on a line.
Yeah. Who else?
The next group I've been seeing is Beckett Hendrickson, Eric Paulson, Tate Pritchard. So there's some decent size to this group, and there's some playmaking. I think Paulson and Pritchard have shown some skill, and I think Hendrickson's shown a lot of toughness around the net. We saw Beckett and Eric play together in the USHL and have some chemistry. Paulson had that injury going right into the middle of the season last year that really kind of hampered his year. He was just starting to really find his place in the lineup before he got hurt. And I thought there was like this growth curve ahead of him that he was just starting to touch. And I think he's back and he's fully healthy. And those three look good together, and I think they're going to get a good opportunity to play. Mazzocco likes to roll four lines as much as he can. So I think we'll see those guys out there a lot this weekend.
And then, Harris, Begley, Middlestead, Falloon kind of filling in on that fourth line.
Yeah, I think so. I think the one thing to note is Begley's skate at forward this week. I think there's some players that are off the ice right now for the Gophers. So Harris and Begley might both dress for a game this weekend. Middlestead and Falloon have been pretty stapled in as playing together.
Mm-hmm.
I often talk about how Mazzocco likes to have pairs of players that just kind of stick together all year. I think Middlestead and Falloon might be that pair. It's interesting. John Middlestead, I think, is going to chip in some points this year. I've been watching practice, and they'll be running these 5-on-5 in zone possession sequences. And somehow I feel like I've seen John Middlestead score more than a handful of goals in those situations, and being like one of the only players to score in these situations.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys that just makes good, positive, game-winning decisions all the time that put his teammates in good spots, and I think maintain possession and momentum. That's such a key for hockey to have guys
well, he
like
was
that.
I believe he was one of the scorers in the national championship game against Quinnipiac. It seems like forever ago, but he can contribute at weird times. It's really strange.
Yeah, he's played a bunch of games for Minnesota, so it'll be interesting to see him move forward.
How about the defense?
Defense will be interesting. I think Cal Thomas is fully healthy again. He's basically playing on one leg the second half of last year after his lower body injury. And I think that really limited him, and he had to play through it. But I think he's back and healthy, along with Luke Middlestead and Leo Gruba. Like that trio, I feel like they could play a lot of minutes for the Gophers this year. Putting in McLaughlin, or I'm going to have to get this right. McLaughlin, because it's not McLaughlin. Like we have Blake McLaughlin, so it's Lachlan. So I'm going to keep working on that. I think he's going to play a fair amount. I think Rombach's going to play, and I think Whipple's going to play. I think they're just going to play less than Thomas, Gruba, and Middlestead. So we'll see how they all fit in. Power play, I've seen Thomas, Gruba, Middlestead, McLaughlin, sometimes Whipple. How Mazzocco likes to run 3 power play groups.
Mm-hmm.
Whipple kind of works in with that third group and sometimes comes on and off with the other groups. I've seen Middlestead run the point. I've seen Gruba run the half wall. I've seen Thomas run the point. So I think that's a big question mark for the Gophers as they go into the season is who are their defensemen that are going to run the power play?
Finn McLaughlin, Canmore, Alberta.
McLaughlin.
Finn McLaughlin, Canmore, Alberta.
So I'm glad we have those sounds.
I know. I'll get there, Finn and Finn's family, McLaughlin clan.
And I'm guessing probably Airy gets to start Friday and DePasquo gets to start Saturday. Probably going to see them both this weekend.
I think we'll see both. Bob wants the competition and he wants to see how people play in games. And I often tell people goalies in games are way different than goalies in practice. You have to see how they react in those situations. And goalies need games.
They definitely need games. What's your prediction for the weekend?
I was on with Tech Hockey Guide, and I said 75% chance Gophers sweep, and I got laughed at by the group. And they were not very impressed with that Rube prediction that I had, but I've got to go sweep for Minnesota. I just think there's too many good things going on for the Gophers right now with the players they have, the way they're competing in the preseason, how hard they've been playing, and how if things get tough, they're really going to be able to lean on Thomas, Gruba, and Middlestead to control a game. Yeah. And I don't think there are necessarily weaknesses for Minnesota. I think there's just question marks in who's going to do the scoring and what kind of chemistry we see with the Gophers. The one thing I'd be worried about this weekend was that I've seen the Gophers play very physical so far in the preseason. Could they be too hyped up for a college game in front of their home fans to start the season and get into penalty trouble?
Yeah.
And looking at the Gophers, there's a lot of change on the PK pairs too. Like they lost a lot of guys who killed penalties. So it's going to be real interesting to see who they lean on to kill penalties this year, especially at forward. I saw Zemer and Mooney as a PK pair, which would be really interesting to me.
You know what?
That's a group that could be dangerous for a power play as like the 2 minutes wind down. That's one thing that Bob often did was he would send out a second pair, almost like an attacking group, to look to pick off plays and get shorthanded goals. So I think that'll be an interesting thing to watch as the year goes on, if that's how he deploys them.
Well, Mooney was on the penalty kill quite often in the showcase this summer. He was on both ends contributing. So I think it's just because he's so fast and he can cause so much trouble. And
I think his hand-eye is so good.
Oh, yes.
Like if there's a pass within his wingspan, he's going to get a stick on it. And then he's just so quick in those first couple strides that he might be able to take off. And I see Brody Lamb and Jimmy Clark. It's another PK pair. Those are two guys that have some experience there and they can maybe lean on. So we'll see what happens there.
Any other thoughts, or are you ready for some overtime?
I think I'm ready for some overtime. I got a beverage picked out. I'm excited for the season. I'm going to be at the rink on Friday. Can't wait to be in there and see how this team looks this year.
All right. Let's go, Viggs. Let's go.
Let's go.
It's going to be exciting. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the GPL podcast. We'll be back next week when Jack Ramsey joins the show before the Boston College series, which is next Thursday and Friday. For those of you watching live, stay tuned for some overtime. For the rest of you, we'll catch you next time on the GPL podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and get notified each time we go live or post a video. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate our show and leave a review. For those of you watching live, you know what's next. It's Vigo's Beverage of the Week. It's time for overtime.
Here we go. This week, because they're playing a team from Michigan, I've got a Michigan beer. This is a 2018 Bell's Expedition Stout bourbon barrel aged. I'm excited to have it. It's let's see, 13.4%, everyone. So it's a loaf of bread. A little dark and a little undercarbed at this age. Wow, smells really good. No soy sauce here. Don't worry about that. Bell's knows what they're doing.
All right. I got this new thing.
That's delicious. That's delicious.
I could turn on the chat, and the chat will just kind of scroll by on the side of the screen. Yep, you didn't hear it, Josh. They're going to Houghton next year.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so, Bob was quick to give that one away when asked. So
let's see how this looks.
Pretty exciting.
It cuts you off a little bit, but
it's okay.
It's just a new feature. Oh, I guess I'm not drinking. I just need some more water. I've already gone through water. That's what Barbie's for. She's so nice. Thank you, Barbie. Oh, I don't need a second one. I don't think.
You don't think? Not yet?
I am thirsty, though. Barb was asked me the other day. She wants to know. Oh, she's got to get back upstairs and watch. How do you do your pizza crust? Do you buy them? You make them? How do you do your? I don't know. Do you like to do them different ways, thicker, lighter? How do you do your crusts?
So generally the preparation of my pizza crust, if you follow me on Instagram, most Fridays I will be posting a picture. If I don't, it's because we ate the pizza so quickly, I'm exhausted, or something came up and we had to move pizza night around. But most Fridays there's wine and pizza. The dough process, always homemade.
Okay.
My son has one kidney, so he has to have a low sodium diet. When he was born, he had a kidney stone at like 5 years old, and we took him into the hospital, and they're like, "Do you know your son only has one kidney?" We're like, "No, we did not." Good thing he got a kidney stone, because now we know. But when you have one kidney, you want to have a low sodium diet, and with the American diet, there's a lot of salt and everything. And I love pizza. And I was like, well, I guess we're going to have to make our own pizza, because there's a lot of salt in any pizza you get. So I make kind of a low sodium pizza from scratch. So Wednesday night, start my dough, Caputo flour, 00, Italian, soft wheat, really good stuff, 450 grams with 240 grams of water, like a tablespoon of yeast, mix it up, let it sit overnight, usually in the fridge if I'm disciplined, because a cold ferment is really good with dough. The next day, I'll mix it up a little bit more. I'll add my garlic, my oregano, my fennel, my red pepper, and I'll get that in. I'll kind of like fold the dough a couple times, and then I'll let it like warm up on Friday afternoon. And then that usually makes 2 pizzas. So I can cut them in half. I can either roll them out with a rolling pin if I want them like thin crust, or I can just pound it out or toss it by hand if I kind of want traditional crust. If you roll it out for the thin crust, it helps if you do it in the morning or the night before and leave it out. And then it kind of dries out a little bit, and you get like more of a crackery, like tavern style pizza. So it's whatever you're going for.
You writing all this down, Barb? I hope that'd be great.
I can send the PowerPoint. Something I did this summer.
PowerPoint. Solid.
Something I did this summer was I had Craig Floor connect me with the person who runs the athlete village on campus, and they have
Craig Floor,
and they have a test kitchen in the Land O'Lakes Performance Center that they can teach athletes like how to cook things and stuff. And I'd seen it there on a tour, and I was like, oh, that'd be a really cool place to do like a pizza demo for my team at the U. And so we booked the room. I got in there. I made pizza for like 50 people, just like, pizza, put them in the oven, topping them, cutting them. I fed like the staff. I'm sure there were some football players that were going by going, what the heck is going on in there? Who's that big guy making pizza? And it was a lot of fun. So I had some great pictures. I think I tweeted some pictures of tossing the pizza. I had my Row the Boat shirt on.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Had a great time. So
yeah, she was asking me about it. I think I showed it to her last week, your pizza you had put together, and hey, check this out on Big's Instagram. I'm not on Instagram as much, but it's nice to see that stuff.
Yeah, I do a homemade sauce as well, with San Marzano tomatoes. I can get Italian sausage, or I could get ground pork and then make my own Italian sausage without so much salt. So I can do it that way. I was very nervous the first time I just put raw sausage on top of a pizza and put it in the oven. Totally fine. One of the keys for good pizza.
It's in there long enough. So
yeah. One of the good things for pizza is get your oven as hot as it can get. Like mine gets to 550 and I put it on the convention bake. Yeah. So
that's hot.
Someone like you, if you want to make sure your oven's clean so it doesn't set off the smoke alarms.
Well, our stove is old, so I don't know if we want to do it with our stove. Maybe the next stove when we do our remodeling, but
yeah, 550 is key because it'll get the crust like a little blackened and crunchy. I have not invested in a pizza steel yet, which is like what I should do. My friend Luke Buer of the Gopher Gridiron Radio podcast has a pizza steel, and it works really well. I haven't gone there. I have a pizza stone. And sometimes I'll do it on my Weber kettle.
Okay.
I have an attachment that turns my Weber grill into like a pizza oven, kind of. It's like an insert that the top goes on, and so all the heat comes out the front like a pizza oven.
Okay.
So I do that in the summer because 550 oven during the summer in Minnesota is hot.
It's a little tricky.
But yeah, at some point I'll get the PowerPoint queued up for an OT, and maybe with Dan Woog.
Oh,
because Dan Woog was interested in my pizza.
Interesting. Party at Vig's. Make a bunch of pizzas.
Hey, I've done it before. Maybe we can get the Athlete Village again. Maybe we can do a pizza pregame for Dickeytown athletes or something, or the Golden Helmet Collective.
Not a
Pizza
bad
party.
thought. Not a bad thought.
Little pregame.
It's kind of wondering where Golden Helmet and Dickeytown's going to go. Just a lot of tricky things going on right now with collectives, and a lot of things with these new rules are not getting approved. And I know people have been asking us about it. It's just, they're just kind of waiting for things to get figured out.
I feel like the NCAA is trying to get their hands back around payments to athletes. Like the U this year has $20.5 million to distribute to their athletes as part of revenue sharing. That is creating some budget issues at Minnesota. And it was funny. Like I was just talking to some people on campus, and they're just like, yep, we got to watch our equipment budget this year. We got to make sure we're meeting our numbers because things are going to be tight. And it sounds like Coyle this year is trying to cut as much as he can in spending, just so they don't have a deficit when they go to the Regents at the end of the year. Some of that's predicated on the Big Ten doing well in football, so we'll see how things shake out. But I know that the basketball team needs to sell some tickets. Sounds like Gopher Hockey is doing a good job selling tickets, except for the Thursday night BC game.
Really?
I feel like there's still some seats available for that one. So people have been clamoring for a Big East or a Hockey East team to come.
Put your money where your mouth is, folks. Get some tickets.
They'll have replica jerseys now from CCM available.
Yeah,
they won't have the authentics. But I actually think these replicas actually look pretty nice. So it's better than the previous versions.
Yeah, but then you see the name and number on jerseys at North Dakota. And
do you see the price tag, though?
People will pay it. People will pay it. Obviously, they're doing it at North Dakota.
See,
I mean, and then someone tweeted me, they looked at the same thing at the main store. The main store was jerseys too, and names and numbers. But the thing is, it's not the people in the hockey department to have any choice in it. It's all people way above who make these decisions. And I'm still convinced they're kind of treated like a second-class citizen, even though they're one of the most successful programs the school's ever seen.
Yes. The hockey program is doing all right. The fans are showing up for the most part with this version of Gopher Hockey. And Bob is slaying the recruiting trail for down the line. They're loaded up for bear.
It kind of makes me wonder, will he even be here for some of those guys? Because, he's always kind of given the vibe that, I'm not going to be doing this until I'm super old. Probably on the last contract. He's always like, it sounds like he doesn't want to be here until he's 70.
I think he also wants to win a national title.
Yeah, there is also that.
I feel like if he wins one, he would be more likely to retire. But while he's still chasing that, I just, as competitive as a guy as he is, and as much as he talks about, I'm going to take that Quinnipiac loss to my grave, he wants to go to his grave with a national title to at least be like, I did check that off. So we'll see. I mean, I don't think Bob's recruiting is the reason Minnesota hasn't won one. Like, he's put together some amazing rosters. So I think just finding the right chemistry and combination to get through a game like that is really challenging. I mean, as much as people want to blame the coaching for that game, because I know we go back at that one quite a bit and think about what happened, but if the players make some plays, they extend that lead. So let's not go there on the opening night too much.
Yeah, please don't.
I know. Sorry, everyone. Wow.
Mr. Negativity here. What do you do?
But I think a roster like this that the Gophers are putting together has a lot of good things to look forward to. Like, this isn't going to be a team that's dominated by one player who demands the puck or will be force-fed the puck over and over. The only player that could be maybe would be LJ Mooney, and he wants to pass it. He wants to use his vision. He's not just going to be a black hole like I was as a high school sophomore. That puck's going to go in there and it's going to come back out.
Oh boy, Viggs, you cracked me up.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be a fun team to watch, and I'm really interested to see how the power play works because they don't have like a number one option. I think Brody Lamb. I've seen him an off wing player here and there, but I think he's really more effective sometimes as that, crash the net, chaos power play opportunist. And, he's big. They've got a lot of size. It's going to be fun to watch.
It will be. I'm looking forward to be coming down Friday night. Oh, pounds of hockey. It was fun to have it during the summer, but back at the big rink, back at Mariucci. Hopefully we've got some good crowds there this weekend. Obviously excited about Frank, and obviously coming on the show was awesome. I just sent him a text yesterday. I'm like, hey, he's like, you know what? I'll come on for a few minutes because, he's technically retired, and, and who knows what's going on with you. I know some people you are like, I don't know why we're not talking about this, why there's nothing kind of public out there, but we'll publicize it.
They're trying to sell 50,000 football tickets to every game they can. That's what they're focused on. I think that's one of the reasons why hockey doesn't get first billing, because it sort of takes care of itself from time to time.
Yeah.
I will credit the athletic department. They haven't been gouging people for ticket prices.
No.
They've been pretty reasonable for ticket prices. There's going to be a lot of good hockey. Boston College, North Dakota,
Duluth,
Michigan Tech is a rival.
Denver.
Yeah. Denver. It's going to be in Denver, but and the Big Ten's good this year. I mean, you look at some of the talent that's come to Penn State and Michigan State, Michigan. Those are good teams. There's not really any bad games in the Big Ten.
I think Minnesota's going to finish second in the Big Ten, and one of those top two teams will be just right behind.
It's going to be close. I think.
I don't know if
I think it's going to come down to the end.
What is the schedule? Where is
Michigan
State's here the last weekend, aren't they?
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
I wonder if they planned that.
I think that'll be a consequential weekend for sure. That'll have MPI implications. It'll have conference implications.
Oh, that's gonna be tough to get used to. NPI.
I know, we're so regimented to say pairwise.
It's been so long. I mean, it's ticket prices, regions. Yep. I'm gonna put these up here so I can read them a little better. Very reasonable. Under 100. Yeah. There's deals out there, especially with the students. And just like a couple weeks ago, there was a deal for the BTN Plus package.
That's a pretty good deal. You don't see that for NCHC TV or anything really.
No, it's, so I renewed for, I guess it's all sports, and I've watched the women play on there quite a bit.
Did you see Abby Murphy last weekend?
I didn't.
She had fun with her space.
You know,
She almost got a little bored with the game.
I
was fun to watch.
I had 2 fires last weekend, one Friday night, one Saturday night. And I think it was Saturday night. I forgot to follow because Friday night I was kind of like, oh, they're kicking butt. And then 11-0.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yep.
That was wow.
Oh,
I wasn't expecting that.
I mean, I was expecting Abby Murphy to have a weekend, but that was a lot. I mean, I was just gonna look on the, let's see, 1-1, 1-2. Casual 1-2 night, and then 1 assist, 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals, 2 assists. Nice little 9-point weekend for Abby.
As student athletes, they should be charged athletic for the first. You know what? We had an athletic fee when I went to Mankato State back in the 90s. This has been going on at schools for decades. Shut up. Quit bitching.
Oh,
sorry.
Easy on Matthew. He's a loyal person.
I
bringing it up.
I just hear a lot of people. I just it's nothing new.
Yeah. Minnesota has very intentionally avoided that for as long as they could. And as soon as their budget stabilizes, I think, the fee maybe goes down or goes away. But they're in hard times right now, the athletic department.
Mm-hmm.
When that new Big Ten media contract came up, I know the football program was excited to spend more money on their coaching staff and, unleash the recruiting budget and the facilities stuff.
Because they've got a coaching staff of 100. There's at least one person on the sideline for every player out there.
A lot of those coaches are making like $40,000 a year, but PJ's doing just fine. He's a top 25 paid coach. But I think they were trying to increase their assistant pool for like the coordinators and position coaches. But I hope this guy doesn't get in trouble for jumping in the chat.
He's not an intramural.
But he's just explaining things.
He does explain things a lot.
Because I do know that intramurals can play hockey at Mariucci and Ritter, which when I was a younger man, I thought about doing. It's full contact.
We've seen it.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I think we've seen club hockey.
We've seen club hockey. I haven't seen club hockey there in a long time.
They had like a full check intramural league at the U.
Wow.
When I was in my 20s, I was like, I'm a big guy. That could be kind of fun. And I was like, yeah, I think those days are past me. But they play broom ball and stuff at the arenas too. So, yeah.
Let's bring Tim's up. Good luck with that.
It's on the 6-year plan. It's on the 6-year plan.
But yeah, that's not what the original intentions were. They wanted to do it a little sooner, but.
And I think part of the phase 2 is improving the women's facilities as well. So like the coaching, locker room, training facilities in Ritter. So I think that's also part of that phase 2. And I think they just have to get through this revenue sharing piece of the puzzle and figure that out. And once
I hope the Big Ten network contract's way bigger next time.
Well, I mean, the money's going to continue to go up in that contract.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason why it's a $9 million deficit this year is because the next year, I think the TV money goes up by like $9 million. So then it's flat. So if they can just get through this first year of it, then it balances out. Because I think, with the conference expansion and all that stuff. And Mark Hoyle is very happy to point out, there's a bunch of these West Coast schools that are taking a half share just to be in the Big Ten. And Minnesota, as a founding member, gets the full share. So pretty good deal.
Look at that. not getting any state funding to support athletics versus other U of M D2 schools receive. Duluth, St. Cloud, State
St.
Universities?
Cloud and Minnesota State are MinSCU. So it's a different system, but I think they do get state support. So I bet the 3 other schools.
Nice of Craig to jump in here.
In Bemidji. Bemidji's MinSCU, I think. Yeah. I think Bemidji's on their own. I don't think they're part of MinSCU. I could be wrong.
I don't.
We're getting outside of my expertise here.
I don't want to think that much. It's great. Thanks for watching, though, Craig. We're glad you're a loyal watcher, listener. We've had you on Overtime many times. I saw Drew was retweeting us, Drew Cove, so hopefully he's watching too. Actually, I tweeted, "Hey, we're back tonight," and Johnny Sorensen retweeted that or liked it.
Hey,
so it's any former Gophers or current Gophers. If you want to come on, if you're a current Gopher, reach out to Slarksy. He'll get us connected. Any former, just find me on Twitter. Whatever, we'll get you on. We've always been kind of hesitant to have current players on because, to be honest, maybe one of the more outgoing personalities would be able to give us, but a lot of times they're just going to kind of give us the.
There's a fear, I think, of a current player of getting in trouble.
Yes.
Like of saying the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just, it's a sticky wicket for them
to
be in that situation, especially the format that we do. So
it is live. We can't really edit on the fly here, but that's what I've always loved about the show.
That's what we love.
Yeah, it kind of prevents us from having live. I'm sure we could get a current Gopher. I don't think it would be a huge deal, but like you said, what if they just say the wrong thing and it's live and it goes out and it's tough. That's why we love the former players. They love to talk, don't they, Viggs?
The freedom.
Freedom.
I was just going to say, one other news item that came out today was Bucci noted that the national championship game is going back to the main ESPN channel.
He did.
And I noted that David Carl has been in his off season. He's been talking about how, the NCAA men's hockey group needs to leverage their media partners and improve tournament coverage and improve the exposure of the game, especially with all these CHL players coming to college.
Yeah.
He's like, we are quickly becoming a must-watch league. With all the talent that's going to be in the league, we need to be improving the atmosphere in our buildings, the TV coverage, the availability, everything. And he liked my tweet today. So David Carl, if you're watching tonight, I appreciate it.
We'll have you
on Mountain Time. So
if we can get, maybe we can get him on for our, that would be the Thanksgiving episode, wouldn't it? Which will be on a Wednesday this year. I've got to keep it on the Wednesday. Obviously, you can see that we've moved to Tuesdays. Give us a little more time because, social media and getting clips out and getting things done before games, it's gotten tougher. So, I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say something. It'll come back to me. I'm forgetting things. But yeah, I'd love to have David Carl on. Mountain Time Zone, maybe it's. I remember what it was. Bucci says the championship game is going to be at 5:30 Eastern. Yeah. I checked the NCAA site hasn't updated. That still says it will still be 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. He tweeted that out. I'm like,
starts. Like pregame show, maybe
that would be so early though.
Yeah. Well, it's in Las Vegas too.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now, according to the NCAA, it's 4:30 local in Las Vegas because they're in Pacific time zone, putting it 6:30 here, 7:30 East Coast. Now they're saying, if it's 5:30 and 4:30 Central, making it 2:30 in Vegas, maybe that's how they got the switch to ESPN by going on earlier.
Well, I mean, the final
it makes sense.
has an early game sometimes for their semis.
Heck, the Super Bowl's at 5 something. So
yeah. So
I guess I'll just wait until I see official word, but I guess it wouldn't be a terrible thing if you can get it on the regular ESPN if it's in earlier. And I'll tell you the media, the reporters would love that. Because now you're not rushed to get your story out at a certain time. So we'll wait and see on that one.
Yep.
But ESPN, it's been on ESPN off and on the last 25 years. I know Minnesota versus Maine, and actually I think the next year against New Hampshire was on the big network for those games and quite a few others. And then they kind of in the teens, they went to ESPN2 exclusively, but maybe Carl's pushing, like, let's get on ESPN. Got to change the time. We got to change the time. I don't think it's a huge deal.
Yep.
I was just some people were complaining about it. I'm like, I'll wait to see it's official first, and it doesn't bother me to be earlier. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Are we going to Vegas this year, Jupe? Are we making plans to go?
I don't know.
I think I might be going to Cancun April 18th. So
April 18th. So
yeah. So I think I'm good for the 8th through the 11th in Vegas. And then the next weekend I'll be in Cancun. I mean,
road trip.
That's just the way. Maybe I should just stay in Vegas until going to Cancun. Maybe that's what I need to do. Stay in Vegas until the 14th.
I think GPL will be able to afford it depending on what the hotel costs are. What is it? What is?
I think Jupiter probably just had to restart his computer. No, he's back.
What the hell?
I was worried there, Jupe. Like
all I did was literally scroll my mouse and it hit something. I don't know what the heck I hit.
I thought maybe I heard the oh no, and I was like, automatic restart.
I wish. Steve was telling me, Steve, what? Oh, Steve Larson. What? It's the MGM that's park or something that's literally right there next to T-Mobile Center is completely smoke free.
Oh, love that.
Steve, you still watching? What is it? The MGM Park something? It's like really right next to it and it's smoke free. I hate smoke. Park MGM, maybe that's what it was. Something
well, like Barbie, we might be able to get a media hotel. So we might be
and that's just it. If it's a media hotel, if it was the Park MGM right there, right next to it, would make sense. Those hotels are huge, and obviously Vegas has gotten very expensive recent years, unlike the cheapness it used to be.
I mean, I did swing the JW in Tampa just because I couldn't pass it up. It was a fun experience.
There we go. Park MGM.
I did fly out of Orlando though, so that was an interesting.
You did.
Night.
Oh,
boy. It worked out.
That was. Well, when's Easter? Let's bring up the calendar. You had to get back home for Easter.
I had to get home for Easter. I hope Easter's not the 12th. Please don't be the 12th.
Easter's the 5th. Orthodox Easter is the 12th. So I think you're good. I'm just looking at my calendar. It's got all the. It's got Palm Sunday is the 29th. Easter's the 5th. Well, that's Orthodox Easter.
I type in Easter 2026. This is April 5th. We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. I remember one year the Final Five was the Saturday before Easter.
Okay.
And I remember that was one of the years where we spent a long time.
Were we at the room until like 3 or 4 in the morning?
Yes.
Oh.
And then I had Easter Sunday the next day.
Sorry. One of the refs started buying rounds for everybody.
Sorry, Don Vigo. Sure they noticed.
The real the Don.
The real the Don Vigo.
The real the Don Vigo. Oh, gosh, it wasn't CJ. Who was it? Might have been Anderson. Apparently, if you're a ref and you fall during a game, you have to buy a round. And they came in, the refs from the championship game, they came in and bought everybody around at like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Good dudes, those refs. That's why we built them a page on GPL.
Yeah.
So
Colin, he was coming up and talking to me during the the Notre Dame series. And someone took a picture of it. He's cavorting with the refs. I'm like going, I don't do any cavorting. We just BS. That's all we do.
Yeah, we've got a officials Zoom meeting tomorrow with the Big Ten to talk about like rule changes, points of emphasis, things like that. So
that's right. I have to go into the office tomorrow, unfortunately. So I couldn't.
Well, it's just a Zoom, so
yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, I wish it was open. Yeah, I think we got sent that link, didn't we, a couple weeks ago?
Okay. I'll see if I can record it maybe somehow. Any questions the people in overtime want me to ask tomorrow at media availability? I believe we're gonna get Jimmy Clark and John Middlestat tomorrow for players, and of course Bob. So if anybody in the chat has something they really want me to get into, I might not be able to phrase it exactly the way you're asking it in the chat, but I will use my Vigo translator to maybe get the information out a different way. I'm usually pretty good at that, right, Jupe?
Yes, you are. Puckhound. Tom, how you doing, man? Ready for another season? Hopefully. Yeah, you you got the Bob going at media availability last week when Brad S.
from Grand Forks
wants to know. That was good. That was really good. He should call me. I think later he was telling me he didn't have Bob's number. What are the points of emphasis this year? Maybe you'll find out in the referee thing. You should ask that if you can ask that on the Zoom tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sure we
Point
can
of emphasis.
we can figure that out, what they're looking at this year. So
remember John not to wear he just what do you do? I will be up in Grand Forks for that series. You're not going to be able to make it though, can you, Viggs?
No, my wife has a work trip, and I have a lot of hockey coaching to do that weekend. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm not going to get to be able to coach my kids forever, so I'm going to do it while I can. So sorry,
what I need you to do that night is to text me questions from Vigo, Eric V.
Eric V.
So
from
I can ask the Bob. People always like, why don't you ask questions? Because I'm behind the camera half the time. I'm like this with what I see of the game sometimes.
That's only going to fly if they win, which of course they will. But
sweep. What are you talking about?
Yeah, if they win, that joke works. But in a loss, everything's 2 tenths. By the way, John Middlestat should play his 100th game as a Gopher on Saturday. So good for him.
Wait. You're coming back to Forks. You're going to listen to the amazing karaoke again.
You remember when we went to the barrel or whatever?
It was loud.
What was the bar? The Barley and Barrel or something?
I don't remember. It was loud. I just remember that. I could hardly hear anybody.
Gopher fan in Forks will know exactly what we're talking about. But remember they had the karaoke singer that was just terrible, and I think you recorded it.
I think I recorded it, and I was kind of going.
Yeah, it was pretty
Brick and Barley.
Brick and Barley, yeah. So close. I think
that was a recommendation from Brad S. himself.
You will often find Brad S. at Brick and Barley during the season. Now, Randy J prefers a dive bar. Oh, you posted on Twitter for everybody. You made that person semi-famous. Okay. Good.
Just constantly bring up. I could do that. I'll do that in Grand Forks after a loss.
From Jess M.
Jess
St. Paul. Or
Jess M would like to know.
I'm not sure. Maybe he's from Arizona. I'm not sure where he lives.
Jess M from War Road wants to know.
War Road, yeah. I don't know where Jess is calling me his hometown to be right now.
True.
He's all over the place.
He is. He's got to take a lot of vacation now.
Well, now that Krill signed his deal, no vacation allowed, I bet. What do you think about that, Jupe? Paying
a lot of money.
Russian big bucks.
How much of that goes back to Russia? Interesting.
It is very interesting.
Yeah, so, but what would they?
Good player.
I mean, what were they going to do?
They had to pay him, right? So
yeah, and that just gives just raises the bar for the real superstars in the league on their next contract.
Yeah,
Krill's a little older because he was in the KHL for quite a few years, but.
What do you think? We got 15 more minutes of overtime?
I think so. What are you going to get out? What are you going to bring out? What are you going to show us?
I brought it here. So this is
what is it?
This is my barrel pick from Russell's.
Oh.
So I got the opportunity to go to Bourbon Country this spring and pick a barrel of rye and bourbon from Russell's.
Were you able to go to Buffalo Trace?
I was able to go to Buffalo Trace. The experience was a little different because of the
flood. It's right around that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a month before. So like when I was there, like there was still a lot of flood damage.
I bet.
But they were able to accommodate us, and I was able to pick 2 barrels of Stag bourbon that will be coming to Minnesota shortly. And then I got the two barrels from Russell's, and my group also picked a Larceny barrel proof from Heaven Hill.
You got my attention now.
Which Jupe will be getting a bottle of. Gratitude for hosting this wonderful show, which extended our contract with Pull Tab for another year.
Yes.
So thanks to you for making this possible. So you'll get
it's all you, dude. You're the knowledge. I'm just the host.
We're a great partnership.
We are.
You got to have good lineies. So you'll get one of those when that comes in. It's not in yet.
Twisted wrister, top shelf, where Mama keeps the Buffalo Trace.
The only mistake I made on my trip to Bourbon Country is I tried to bring back 13 bottles of bourbon with me, which is too many. But
did you get busted for bootlegging crossing the border?
No, it's like too much alcohol to put in your bag, so I had to like.
Oh, should have driven.
I had to do some things, but I got it all home, and it all made it back safe. It was great.
I was gonna say, is that bootlegging? You're gonna have Smoking the Bandit. Who was that? Jackie Gleason character. Oh, gosh, this is a great movie. Come on, somebody in chat. I keep thinking Roscoe P. Coltrane, but that's the Dukes of Hazzard cop. It's come on, people. Just wait. It usually takes about 20 seconds for people to see. Nobody? Come on, people. Buford T. Justice. Look at that gentle giant coming through. I just forget his name. If anyone hasn't seen Smoking the Bandit unedited, do it.
Like, are you trying to think of Burt Reynolds? I was like, I don't know.
No, Burt Reynolds. No, not Burt.
But anyway,
I was gonna say if you're bootlegging, that's a lot. That's 13 bottles is a lot.
It was not intentional. It just kind of happened. Like when you're there and you start getting these allocated bottles that you won't get anywhere close to back home. The Rube, long time GPLer, he got this 4 Roses like limited edition barrel strength thing. Like I got like 5 of those kind of bottles while I was there. And then when you go visit these distilleries, like you get things that you just want, like Eagle Rare and interesting things. And I got these Evan Williams 12-year things, and I got this Old Forester special bottle that I got. Just fun stuff. And then I was just like packing up to go home. It's like my bag's heavy, and then someone's like, "Yeah, you can't have this many bottles come back." And I was like, "Oh gosh!" And they all had 12. So we figured it out. So.
I don't know. I think we'll have to bring a bottle of good stuff to Vegas when Minnesota's playing Denver in the national championship game. Positive thinking. Positive thinking.
Manifest it in your brain and it will happen. This would probably be the most unlikely Gopher roster to win a national title.
Yeah.
But as I tell people, it's like if I was building a roster, this is the kind of roster I'd put together. Like a lot of second, third round type guys. You've got people who've stuck around for 4 years. You've got good goaltending. You've got 2 good goalies.
You have big size. Big size. Bigly size.
I just wish they had Matthew Schaefer as the 26th player on the roster. But
yeah, they're a little short on the roster.
Well, they're short one right shot D who's amazing, who can absolutely run a power play.
Well,
it could have been Renzel or Chesley, but they left.
Which is always Bob's thing. We just got to get older. You got to get those at least 3-year guys.
Yeah. And I think Luke Mittelstadt will be a great player. I think Cal Thomas will be a great player. I just don't know if they're that kind of player, but we'll see. They're young kids. There's still development left in them. Like Luke Mittelstadt probably has not had the chance to show what talent he has necessarily because of the players in front of him. I almost think like he's probably a better facilitator than like Sam Renzel could have been last year. But Sam Renzel's a first-round pick who's super talented. It's hard not to play him in that spot.
Yeah.
That's what makes college hockey so hard. Because if you don't play Sam Renzel in that spot, for sure he's gone after the year. You know what I mean? So
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yep.
Ooh, there it is.
Delicious. A pleasure to get down to Kentucky and pick these. If anyone's a bourbon person, get a good relationship with the store. Talk to the people that own it. Be loyal. Maybe someday you'll get to go pick a barrel of bourbon. It's a great time.
I started drinking Rusty Nails recently. Basically, 2 parts whiskey, 1 part Drambuie, which is another type of scotch, but it's more of a liqueur type. It's
liqueur scotch, yeah.
But it gives you, it really kind of takes the edge off of whiskey a little bit. And I kind of like, it gives it a little sweetness, takes the edge off, and I'm like, geez, this goes down a lot smoother than just straight with ice or whatever.
Or just
I never understood what my former father-in-law liked about those. And then I had one a couple months ago, and I'm like, oh, I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been having those a lot lately. And now it's fall. I'm gonna have to have more.
Yeah, it's a little hot right now.
It is
for whiskey, but and I was just looking at my beer tonight, which was very good. But I haven't had a big Imperial Stout probably for a couple months now. And like I love Imperial Stouts, but like I've just been kind of holding back.
It's not a big summer thing.
Not a big summer thing.
When it's
So
hot and humid out,
season.
you don't want to be weighed down by that when you're hot and humid.
No, it doesn't drink as easy in the hot, humid weather. So,
by the way, get away from the hot and humid. Go out west in the summer. I had a great time.
Oh, was it good?
Oh,
yeah, we haven't talked about your trip.
It was amazing. Out there for 15 days. We did a lot of videos. Barb and I did a lot of videos on Facebook. Just, and we got more into it as the trip went along. It ended up being more of a comedy duo on our trip. But man, it's
new
just
YouTube channel to share.
I don't know. We might have to do that because like we're going up north this weekend. I might have to do some more videos.
Okay.
I did post some pictures, just some random pictures on Twitter. I think I even called it random. Just obviously it's so beautiful out there. It's so desolate in areas, which I love. Glacier was great as always. The only thing is we did something called the Highline Trail, which at times is about 4 feet wide and a very, very steep drop. One area has a rope and you're about 200 feet above the road below. Another area doesn't have a rope and is way down. So it was a little hairy, Barb's a little more afraid of heights than I am, but we made it. A few days later, a 72-year-old woman fell 450 feet to her death on the same trail.
Oh my God.
And they had to close down the road and the area because they had to bring in a helicopter. You can't just get down 450 feet. And they found her dead down there. And I'm almost like going, well, I don't think Barb would have let us go on that trail if that happened just before we got there.
You're like, it's totally safe.
If you stumble, you could go down the embankment.
Yep. I know my mom had a scary moment at Devil's Kettle once.
That sounds familiar.
It's a waterfall that there's like one spot where the water
Barbie was she's taking some anxiety pills.
All the water like rushes and disappears into like a waterfall hole or whatever, and it comes out in a different area. Like you can't visually track it, so it's like kind of unclear like what happens in Devil's Kettle, like all this water rushes in there and then it comes out somewhere else. And I remember like it was rainy.
Barb is telling you to shush. Apparently we're going there this weekend.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until now.
It was rainy and my mom slipped and was kind of going down the embankment towards the waterfalls. I don't know the particulars. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But
what do you do?
My mom was a little bit older than you two are, so I'm sure you'll be fine. Well, I don't think anyone's died there in a while.
Bring them in a while. Bring the medication. No, we kind of had a grizzly bear kind of charge at the car. I did get video of it, but it was like right when I went from sunlight to shade, and it was in the shade, so it happened so fast. It slammed on the brakes, and he ran behind us. And Barb's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Turn around and look!" And there's a grizzly bear right there. And then we obviously the falls and Shoshone Falls in Idaho was pretty cool. Apparently, if you go there in May with all the snow melt, it's just 2-3 times as large. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Idaho is a very desolate place, but I'd never been there before. We saw Craters of the Moon. It's like a national monument where it's all just this black lava everywhere. Really eerie looking. Saw the Great Salt Lake. Call it the Great Stink Lake. It really smells. It was not impressed. There's just these little bugs and flies everywhere. Just not great.
Yeah, it's weird.
But then, Zion, Bryce, went down to Page, saw Glen Canyon Dam and, Monument Valley, Canyonlands, Arches National Park, and then finished up with Rocky Mountain National Park. And then, so 7 national parks. Yeah, we did Theodore Roosevelt on the way out. A couple state parks here and there. Quite the adventure. A lot of driving. There's a good video of us on the Moki Dugway out of Mexican Hat, where it's just this dirt road. It's about a lane and a half. There's no guardrails. You can see where water's washed down. You go up about 1,200 feet. Just, it was great. I was glad we went out there. Put on 5,100 miles in 15 days.
Wow,
that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. So,
well, the waterfall tour in northern Minnesota is great. There's like 5 or 6 like big ones to see. And I went up there with my kids one year and we did like all of them.
Really? I think we have a lot of them this weekend.
Yeah.
Into next
Oberg
week.
Mountain is a great hike to get a great view. You should see great fall colors right now. So
we went up that way a little bit. We went up there last year. We didn't have as much time as we will this time. We did Lutzen, the tram up, which was amazing, but we did it on a weekday and there was no wait.
Oh, nice.
I think we made it on we were there on a Monday. And we had heard the day before it was a 4-hour wait. Whereas we just walked right up. So we will not be going to Lutzen on either Saturday or Sunday, maybe Monday. So, or Tuesday or something like that. So back on Tuesday for the podcast though.
Awesome.
Back on Tuesday. And we got Jack Ramsey coming on. We were trying to get Kinger, but Kinger's got some wild duty he's going to be doing. So he's got, he's a busy
Wild
guy.
on 7th is taken off. I mean, now that 97 signed, look out. Wild season's going to take over for Kinger, I bet. So
nothing wrong with that.
Maybe he'll finally get in the cold tub with Kirill now that he's signed for 9 years.
Well, he's been jumping in the lake all summer.
Yeah, he'll be ready. So,
yeah.
Should be fun.
Call it a night here, Viggs?
Call it a night.
I got to get up at 5:30 in the morning. So I got a ways to go.
I got to get up at 6:45 too. So, I mean, this new time, it's a little bit of a hectic thing. I got off the ice at 6:45 today at Northeast for my practice. I was home by 7:15 with a little bit of stress getting on the pod, but we made it. So
that's good.
Looking forward to the season. Hope we can keep it going. And
oh yeah, it's all good. I'm hoping we don't have. How about we don't have super long overtimes this year? It'd be kind of nice. We're at 2 hours right now total.
You want to trim it just a little bit?
I'd like to.
Okay, I'll work on it. I won't pour the bourbon every night.
Oh well,
I'll try to.
You gotta pour something at least.
I'll pour.
We get that little video montage of you now, pouring and drinking, and
I know it's a little bit of a tradition. We got to get a sponsor for OT.
Oh.
I know some people. We'll see. We'll start beating the bushes a little bit.
I got some guys. You got some guys.
Chris, don't you worry. I can go faster if I have to. I like to enjoy. So, but I don't know. Hope is eternal with this team right now.
Yes. Let's go. Party on.
Biggest things to watch. Ice time for the defensemen. How productive is the power play? How dynamic do they look? And
Frank Mazzocco on the TV.
Frank Mazzocco on the TV. Those are your 3 points to watch this weekend. So enjoy.
Will it do the thing? Nah, it's not turned on. We'll do that.
You have the gestures.
Yeah. I can have it go on by itself, like, woohoo! Or this.
Rock show.
Now we're just killing time. All right, folks. You guys have a great week. We'll be back next week. And that's all. Later, guys.
Name to pay attention to: Nolan Fitz-Henry, folks. Andover player, very dynamic, possible Gopher recruit.
Oh, I hit the wrong button. Sometimes it just happens.
You wanted to go part 2 on the Nolan Fitzhenry chum on the recruiting trail?
Yeah. What do you do?
I mean, he's only 16, but this guy's solid. Could be a Gopher.
Maybe.